At this video we are going to see how to create forms in gvSIG desktop that you can export to gvSIG mobile in order to for field data gathering, for census, for inventory, etc. So you have to install, first of all, you have to install the plugin from Tools and Manager and installation from URL. So you press this URL by default, you press next, and here you have to press mobile. There are two plugins that are the Horton Machine gvSIG GeoPaparazzi. With there are several tools in this plugin. One of them is the option that allows us to import projects from gvSIG mobile to gvSIG desktop. And there's another option, for example, to create tiles that you can export from gvSIG desktop to gvSIG mobile to avoid data connection from internet. So we are going to install this plugin to import the project later, and we are going to install this one. This is the mobile forms designer for gvSIG desktop. So you have to select both plugins, then you press next, and they are installed with the other plugins that depends on them, and then you have to finish and restart gvSIG. When you install a plugin, you have to restart gvSIG to have them on the application. So after restarting gvSIG, you will have an Edge Machine menu here. Probably in the future the gvSIG mobile options will be available in the tools menu, but now you will have an Edge Machine and gvSIG mobile. These first three options are from the GeoPaparazzi plugin, and this is the Forms Designer plugin. So you have to open it, and we have two options. First one is to create a new form, a new several forms from zero, or you can open an existing file and add new forms. For example, in gvSIG mobile, I'm using an emulator. Here I have gvSIG mobile, and here when you open gvSIG mobile, you have all the forms that are available by default. There are 5 forms in gvSIG mobile, and if you want to keep these forms later, you can export the file with these forms and add new forms in gvSIG desktop. So this file with the forms is available here in the settings. You have the path for the custom SD card. In my case, my gvSIG mobile path is download, and in that folder, in download, in my case, if I open the Explorer, the browser, in download you will have all the projects that are created in gvSIG mobile, and you also have a gvSIG mobile folder. Inside this folder you will have a tags.json. This file will contain the forms. So if you copy this file to your computer by Bluetooth or by email, for example, you can edit this file and you can add new forms. So if you want to keep the forms that were in gvSIG mobile, you can export this file to your computer. So I'm going to show you how to create new sections and forms. gvSIG mobile has sections that are the main issues, for example, the trees or the street furniture, for example. And inside the sections you can create different forms. For example, for the trees you can create a form for the inventory and another one to manage how to for the different areas, for example, or for the street furniture you can create for lights, for parks, for trash, for the different type of street furniture. And so I'm going to open the gvSIG mobile forms by default. So they are in this folder. In here I have, so here in my folder I have the original file that I have copied from the gvSIG mobile application to my computer, and there's some element that is not loaded because it's a complex element. And now here we have the different sections. So we have different sections here that were the sections that you saw in gvSIG mobile. So you can create a new form, a new file with different forms from zero, or you can use an existing one. In my case, I want to keep these ones and I want to create new sections. For example, I'm going to add a new section for trees. I press OK, and for trees we can create different forms. For example, inventory. For example, we press OK, and for this we can create different fields. In this case we have fields for the time, for the date, for boolean, true or false. We can combo strings that are where we can write different options, so we avoid the mistakes. We have the options for pictures, etc. And in my case I'm going to create a first field for strings, a string field, and it will be the name, for example. Here you have to write to avoid spaces or accents, and here you can write a long name. For example, here the same. And here you can see, you can select if you want to label this field is the label in gvSIG mobile or not, and if it's mandatory or not. We are going to create a new field, for example the date. The date for example the field, the field data date, where we take the data. For example, here we can use spaces because it's the label. We can write a value by default. We also can use, for example, a combo string, the different type of trees. For example, type, without spaces, and here we can use spaces. For example, by type of tree. We can write a value by default. We can choose if it's a label, for example, the name of the type of the tree, if it's a label, if it's mandatory, for example, and we can add the different items. for example, the palm tree. Okay, oil tree, for example, maple. Okay, here we have 3 different types, for example, and we can add another item, for example, for true or false, boolean, and if it's a monument, it's if it's monumental or not. For example, this one, it's a monumental tree or not, and by default it will be false. So we have our first form in our first section. We can create another one, another section, that is urban furniture. Okay, and we are going to create different forms. For example, for lights, for parks, we can add different options here, and for them we can add different options. For example, the type for the lights, and for example, if all of them are individual, only one light, for example, I can write a value by default. And if it's label or not, we can add a new one, for example, combo string for the material. Here we can write spaces, and for example, plastic, etc. So we can write here different items, and we are going to save the current file. So I want to keep the original one, and I want to save to another. Here, for example, I want to create a new folder, English, and the name of the file has to be this one, inside English. So this is the name of the file, and I have my form file here. So here I have, in English, I have my original, my new forms file. I have to copy this file to my smartphone or my tablet. So I'm using an emulator, and I have to do it from here, from the share folder in my mobile. I have here English. I have this one. I'm going to copy this file to the gvSIG mobile folder where I have the old one. I have to press to paste and overwrite. And now if I open, I'm going to close gvSIG mobile to restart. I have to restart gvSIG mobile, and now if I open gvSIG mobile again, if I open the menu here, I have the 2 new forms, and the other 5 ones. So I have the trees. For inventory, I have the name, the field data date, the type of tree. I have 3 options, and if it's monumental or not. And I have the urban furniture for lights and parks. So we have our own forms. And now, before starting, I have to create a new project, because I want to export this project with the information, the new information, to gvSIG desktop. So I have to create a new project. It will be, for example, trees. I press OK, and this new project will be in the SD card path. In this folder, the project will be here. So I have to start digitalizing the elements. I'm going to this city, for example, to a park, and I'm going to digitalize different trees. From the viewer, I'm going to use, I have to access here to see the forms, and I'm going to use the map center because I'm using an emulator, but you can use a GPS position, the GPS position with the smartphone or the tablet. In my case, I'm going to access to the trees and inventory my form. I can create more forms, but I have only inventory. And for example, name 1, it was a text field. The field data date is today, and we can select the type of tree, for example, the maple, and if it's monumental or not. For example, it's true. And I have to save. Here I have the label was the name, the type of tree, so I have maple. I would go with my smartphone, and now with for example, a palm tree. There's a palm tree here. I have to access to the trees form. Number 2, for example, the same date, a palm tree, and it's not monumental. So I have to save this new one, and I have 2 trees. Now I have, for example, a light in the street. I'm going to in the street. I press here and urban furniture. And now, for example, the parks or the lights, it's individual and it's plastic, only one. I created only one material. And I have to save, and here I have this light. Another one, lights, for example, I'm going to change the type, double, and here I have the new one. Okay, when I finish creating the different elements, I have to exit gvSIG Mobile, and I have to go to the path download, in my case, where I have the trees project that I created here. I have to copy these files to my computer. You can send the files by email or by Bluetooth. I'm going to copy these files to the computer, for example, to Android, Samsung. I'm going to paste them here, and I have the new files, trees. Here we can see the new files. So from the computer, I'm going to close the Forms Designer, and I'm going to the Add Layer menu. And here we have a new tab that is gvSIG Mobile, where we can load the gvSIG Mobile project. So I have the folder here, and I have the project called trees. If I press open, I have the elements that I digitalized, and I have to accept. And here we have the elements, the trees and the lights. If I open, they are two shapefiles, the trees and the urban furniture. I'm going to load them in a new view, but in another reference system, in the reference system used by the GPS. I accept. I'm going to add the same layer. So from here, trees, and I have to accept. And here I have the elements. If I load a web map service, for example, I'm going to look for a web map service around for all the world, for example, or for Spain in this case, because it's or this one, terrestrials is OpenStreetMap. So if I connect, I press next, this layer, reference system the same than the view, and after accepting I can check if the trees are in the park. We can see the trees here, and we can see the lights on the street. So it's the information. If I open the attribute table, I can see the information of the lights and the trees with the fields that I created from gvSIG desktop. Okay, we finished the video here.